glad you're there. I'm glad I'm here. It's going to be a great show. I have a return guest today, and I hope that if you didn't get to see him last time, that you'll be privileged to see and hear him today. His name is Patrick Morley, and got a brand new book here, How God Makes Men. He has a great ministry to men, and I like that subject. You know, when my husband was alive and we would have company or we'd be somewhere, I kind of gravitate, you know, to where the guys were talking. I don't know why, maybe found them more interesting, but this is one of the greatest ministries in the world today. And we'll talk about the foundation ministry, Man in the Mirror, and welcome Patrick back to Homekeepers. And Stephanie and I are going to make one of those great casserole dishes that when you ladies like to take something to the church supper and you like to, you know, compete just a little bit, this is your recipe. This one will get all the accolades and the dish will be empty before you know it. And it's called Dynasty corn casserole, and it's actually a recipe from Linda Evans. Remember that television series? It went on for quite a while, and this is her recipe. And so I'll join her over there. I'll join Steph in a minute, but I want to offer you this book. Diana Sykes was with me not too long ago and really got some good feedback. And this is the book we discussed that day. It's called Detox, and that's a pretty popular word in our culture today. You know, we talk about detoxing from substance abuse and overeating and all. And what a great idea to detox your spiritual life a little bit. She shows you how here. And this is available to you for a gift of just $15. And you can call our 800 number, then that's 1-800-229-0059. We'll get it off to you. And also, you can write to me at Homekeepers, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida, 33758. I personally love books and information that, you know, help you do a better job through life, and this is one that will help you do that. So hope you'll take advantage of it. And I'm over here with Sister Stephanie, but we're talking about Dynasty. So I had a Dynasty dress when my daughter got married. This is a picture of I'm coming down the aisle with the usher who happened to be the groom, and see the shoulder pads on
Linda Evans, you do.
Look at the shoulder
that
pads.
Is fabulous.
That's a Dynasty dress right there.
It
had
amazing.
All kinds of things going on the shoulders, so maybe bring back memories to a few people. Actually, I didn't watch the show much. I don't ever remember watching an episode, but we knew the clothes, didn't we?
Oh,
and
yeah.
A couple of beautiful
Big
gals
shoulders.
in there. Okay. What do we do?
Okay, so we're doing Dynasty corn pudding. You have a cup of corn, you have a stick of butter, and you have 2 eggs that you're going to put in the food processor.
Okay.
And I have 2 cups, here you go. I have 2 cups of corn and a cup of sour cream.
And she suggests cutting it off of the cob.
Yes, well.
Wrong time of year for that, but
Yeah.
that tells me the girl's a purist.
Yeah. I have a cup of sour cream. I have a 1/4 cup of cornmeal. I have some cheese cut up.
In other words,
my favorite is the chopped chilies.
yeah, that's going to give it. That's going to give it the heat.
Yeah. And let me share something. You can do that and I'll talk. If 2 years ago, nope, you got to be clicked.
Okay. Oh,
There are safety measures. Just a little bit more.
okay.
Yep. There you go.
All right.
If 2 years ago you would have asked me, how was your weekend? After the weekend I just had, I probably would have been in tears. And I probably would have told you how awful it was. And
this is the new Stephanie.
This is new and improved.
Yes.
Yes. So after the weekend I had of car accidents and windows breaking and everything, it's okay. So I'm just trying to share
On to maturity. That's what I say.
Well, and getting out of debt and being wise and being a wise steward will help.
It's not quite the shock, right?
Right.
In case you've not met Stephanie before, I call her the poster child for what's going on in America today, and And thank God for Christian television, because we just bring the best and brightest, like today with Mr. Morley.
Yes.
But also with Dave Ramsey. And he is a world changer,
Yes,
for sure.
For sure. You're supposed to be seeing him at some point, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I missed an interview last time.
Oh.
It was one where you shared him with a bunch of
Yes.
other reporters, and I know Cher.
So we're just going to take the, you don't share.
But I had a good interview with him several years ago at the NRB, National Religious Broadcasters. And he is one delightful individual.
Yeah.
And, well, I can't do anything right today.
Well, if you just read his book and follow his steps, I can guarantee you your situation will improve.
And that wonderful book has so many testimonies.
It has testimonies, and it has a step-by-step. It tells you step-by-step what to do and how to do it and where to do it.
Okay, there's the corn casserole.
Isn't that lovely? So we're just going to put this in here, and then I'm going to cover it with some Parmesan cheese.
Okay. Well, I need a bigger spoon here.
Oh, I had one out. Oh, it's over there.
Well, I've mentioned before, when I go to a church supper or something, I usually just eat the vegetables. Because usually there's such a vast array of great vegetable dishes. So, that comes out real nice too. That hangs together.
It's called a pudding. Yeah, it's actually called a pudding.
All right.
It's very hot, so be careful.
Yeah. Here, try some. It's just the best corn casserole I've ever had in my mouth, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah, the chilies,
That's a 12.
They say they kick it up another notch.
Yep.
All right, if you want this recipe, the information is coming up on your screen. And you can take note of that. And I want to tell you, I'm so glad to have Mr. Patrick Morley back. And if you haven't heard him, you're going to be very, very interested in what he has to say. So stay with us for sure.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, please send your request along with a gift of $5 or more to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758.
Well, I am so glad to have you back. I really sincerely believe this is one of the greatest and most needed ministries, certainly in America today, perhaps around the world.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm really glad that you came back. I would like to recap a little bit for people who didn't meet you last time. I read where you used to be in real estate.
I was a real estate developer in offices around the state of Florida and Texas and North Carolina.
Wow.
And so pretty big operation. And then I started a Bible study in 1986. That rolled into, I was basically reading the Bible and telling the guys what God was saying to me about my problems. And it really seemed to resonate with them. And that evolved into that book, The Man in the Mirror. And then in 1991, I left real estate, which I loved when I was called to do that, to help men basically know Jesus and then grow in their faith and learn how to walk with him.
You still teach men on a regular basis about
Same Bible study. Yeah, we have 10,000 men in the Bible study now.
You live in Winter Park, Florida. So, but do you have a group there? And then how is it, like video or internet?
It is kind of interesting. So we have 150 guys that meet live at the Winter Park Civic Center. And then one of our members was helping the Sony Corporation develop webcasting technology back around 2000. And so he was traveling around the country webcasting Foo Fighter concerts, the Easter egg hunt on the White House lawn, things like that. But he was praying, Lord, how can we use this technology to help build the kingdom? So he came to me and he said, hey, Pat, what would you think if we started webcasting the Friday morning Bible study?
Wow.
I said, that's a great idea. What's webcasting? Because back then, nobody knew what it was.
Right.
So he just basically, he's done it all. He took it. I haven't changed a thing. And it's been
10,000
all
men.
word of mouth. So little groups meeting all over this country and around the world.
Do you take a book at a time, or in the Bible, or just a subject, or?
Well, I do series. I'm actually, it's interesting, I'm doing a series now that's probably about a 10-year series called Hanging Out with Jesus. And we're going through the Gospels one story at a time,
Excellent.
chronologically. But then I break it up with a little series in the spring and a little series in the fall, just to keep it fresh.
Well, I think we'll put up your website right now. We're going to leave it up all the way, and there's more than one. I guess what we put up will lead you to others. And
well, here's what I would say. I think I'm excited. We have a brand new website. Okay, so Man in the Mirror, we work with leaders, and we're starting to move that website away from helping the men themselves. So we just have put up a new website, patrickmorley.com, and you can get to everything about what we're doing through that website. So.
And it's up there now. We're going to leave it up. I guess what makes me really feel warm and fuzzy is that so many people have no clue that men are being discipled like this and in these numbers.
Oh,
it's wonderful.
It's amazing. I mean, Man in the Mirror, the ministry we started in 1991, we've now helped 35,000 churches impact 12 million men. So this is, it's rock and roll. So I travel, I'll meet a stranger and they'll say, oh, you work with men. That must be hard. I say, nope, you got the wrong guy. Because we just see men coming to Christ all the time, growing in their faith, serving the Lord. It's a very robust time.
Now, before we get into this, though, there's something where you're looking for area directors. You've got
Yes.
why don't you explain that? Because probably not a whole lot of pastors have an opportunity to watch this show, but a lot of church members do. So you tell your pastor about this, because I know every pastor out there would like to have a really effective men's ministry.
Well, exactly. Yeah, so we have a great men problem, but we also have a church problem. That is that churches know they need to disciple men and want to, but they lack effective tools and processes. Right. So I'm a systems builder, a model builder, systems theory guy, and a process oriented. So we developed a model called No Man Left Behind. And we decided to run some statistics. So we asked the churches to tell us about what had happened. We found out that churches that use this model have a 48% increase in the number of men who are attending the church in, on average, 2.5 years. And during that same time period, an 84% increase in the number of men involved in discipleship. So 50% growth and almost doubling the number. And
That's
so
excellent.
Well, it's so astonishing. It seems unbelievable, which is why we sent it off to have some statisticians verify it. But we felt like God had given us a stewardship. 1 Corinthians 4:2, now whomever has been given a trust must prove faithful. So we decided that God was leading us, reluctantly, to try to proliferate this to as many churches as might want to use it. And that's where this Area Directors Initiative comes in. So big vision to hire 330 area directors. Man in the Mirror is hiring.
You should hire.
We're hiring 330 area directors. We've hired 80 so far. The idea is to be at full force by the end of the decade. But an area director is a man who loves Christ, of course, from the church, but also has a calling and a passion for men's discipleship. So he builds a region of 1,000 churches with the idea of working with about 10% of them, about 100 of them. We've hired 80 so far. We're looking for men, and they can learn more about that at areadirectors.org. Yeah,
so I hope you're writing these things down, and you can, if you're not one who could be involved, you could certainly pass it along.
Yeah, so I mean, like, somebody's watching today. This could be for them, but chances are it would definitely be for somebody that you might know who is looking for a way to take what God has built into their lives and give it back to help build the kingdom.
Well, it sounds like a wonderful plan and certainly needed. Man whose time has come. All right, what led you to write this book? Because when I saw him, when he came in, I said, did you write another book of the month club? Because you really put out a strong volume of work, and I'd say very high quality too. So you've written, what, 30-some books?
No, this is my 20th book.
Okay.
But thanks for projecting out there.
Yeah.
That's great. That's the 20th book, How God Makes Men. So that's probably my most ambitious project since The Man in the Mirror. But so working with men, we're, okay, so I told you about all the good things that are happening, but we also need to do a little bit of a reality check. We live in a culture that's rapidly changing, and it ridicules men in general, Christian men in particular. And a lot of men are really confused about what it means to be a man, how to be a godly man, a godly husband, a godly father. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take, you know, the Bible is so chock full of principles that are so relevant for today. But most guys think they're a bunch of guys with long beards and longer robes riding around on camels that don't have much to say, famous but irrelevant. And that's not true. And so what I wanted to do was take some of these men, 10 of them, and tell their epic stories.
You took them from the Scripture.
Yeah.
What are the common issues that men face? Because I have mentioned more than one time on this show that I think culture is so demeaning to men. And this starts at a very young age. And I had a gal on who'd just gone through college and how they push the feminist thing. And there's more men dropping out of college and dropping out of high school and all. And then to the sitcoms. And so could you name this issue, what they're facing today?
Okay, so we have an increasingly fatherless nation. Even a lot of the dads that are at home are neglecting their children emotionally. There are a lot of dads doing a really good job, a lot of super dads out there. But there are a lot of angry, dysfunctional young men now coming into the workforce. Employers are having a very difficult time figuring out how to work with these younger guys. And so at least let me tell you one story out of the book. It's kind of, it's very interesting, and it's very relevant to what you're talking about.
Which guy?
Well, it's about elephants.
Oh.
So in the Kruger National Park in South Africa, the elephant population had kind of overwhelmed the park. So the government decided, brilliant, that they would kill off the adults and then relocate the offspring of these elephants. So they did that throughout parks in South Africa. And what they didn't anticipate, when the young bulls became teenagers and their testosterone levels spiked, they became very aggressive. In one park, they trampled and killed 37 rhinoceros. Park ranger said that he watches an elephant toppled a rhinoceros and then drove his tusks through his spear and killed him. And so somebody had the brilliant idea. They imported several adult male bulls into one of these parks, and these adult bulls began to mentor the younger bulls on how to be a male elephant, and no more rhinos were ever killed in that park after those adult bulls were brought in.
A gang of elephants.
There you
go. Know, like a inner city gang.
And so
that was on 60 Minutes, wasn't it? I think I saw that.
I read it in some paper, but the point of this is that we have all of these younger men now who. Now, I mentor younger guys. A few guys ask me, a few guys I ask them. I mentor younger men, but most older men are afraid of this because they don't feel like they're worthy, and of course they're not. But in Christ, they are worthy, and the younger guys feel intimidated to ask, and so we need more mechanisms, processes to help this. That's what we're doing at Man.
Yeah, the young guys need a daddy elephant.
There you go.
That's what they do. All right, you chose men.
That's a Homekeepers kind of comment there.
Oh, it runs deep in the DNA. You chose in this book, and let me mention it again, How God Makes Man. I'm sure I'm looking for, is that Tyndale?
Multnomah.
Multnomah. And also, I'm sure it's on Amazon and all those places.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And to go to the websites, you'll find it there. Choosing men from Scripture. On how God builds them. And God never whitewashed anybody, did he? in the Scripture. He puts them out there, warts and all, and they're for our learning. They're for our edification. You used several. I thought I had them somewhere, but Moses and Solomon and Peter and Old Testament, New Testament. And did you have a favorite?
You know, Steve Brown asked me that same question last week. No, you're asking me, do I have a favorite child? No, I love them all equally. But the point is, if God didn't use flawed men, he wouldn't
have anybody
at all. Yeah, that's right.
He wouldn't have anybody. All right, let's go through some of them. What can Moses say to the men of this century? He's an interesting guy, you know.
Yeah.
Like, here am I, send Aaron. He didn't want to go when God called him. And
well, I believe
someone.
One of the reasons that the Holy Spirit put Moses in the Bible is that no man who ever reads the Bible or this book will ever feel more abandoned than Moses felt abandoned. And so through Moses, we learned that God makes men by taking them through a humbling process that fundamentally transforms the way they think. So he was a young man. He thought he was going to be, at 40 years of age, thought he was going to be the deliverer of his people. Went out, saw the Egyptian and the Hebrew fighting, killed the Egyptian. Next day came out, the two Hebrews are fighting. What are you going to do? Kill me like you killed the Egyptian yesterday? And he fled for his life instead of saving the people, and had this 40-year wilderness experience, and really did feel completely abandoned by God. And then 40 years later, God comes in the burning bush, and we know the story, go and tell the Pharaoh, let my people go. And he did become the deliverer. But there was too much Moses in Moses at the time that Moses sent himself. And 40 years later, we found a much more humble guy.
He was raised kind of pampered.
Well,
by Pharaoh's
household.
So
but he had all the right equipment to be the deliverer. He just didn't have the transformation of his heart.
Okay. Want to go to the New Testament.
Okay.
Peter is one of the most fascinating of all.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can identify with Peter, you know. They get so into something and they flee, run away. And what'd you see in him? Well,
so no man has ever known more about making disciples, becoming and making disciples than Peter. And so God, through Peter, we learned that God makes men by showing us how he calls, equips, and sends us so that we can call, equip, and send others, basically make disciples. So yeah, you see the humanity of Peter, which is very intoxicating, really, to see the boldness and the passion. And you know, at one moment he's saying, you know, Lord, I'll die for you, and then the next time he's saying, no, Lord, they'll never take.
I don't know him.
So I think guys can really relate to him. And so in the book, what I tried to do is just open up his humanity to the guys so that they can relate.
How do the guys receive this? Now, the book is brand new. This, I think it's coming out the same week that this...
November 5 is the release date.
But you've been teaching this? What kind of reception? You know, it seems to me like when somebody can identify with something, it's almost lesson learned.
Yeah, well, that's why I wrote the book, is just because the response was so good to the series that I did on it. And then it's also interesting, we did an advanced reading copy we sent out, you know, to certain leaders and so forth. And I've had a real nice response from those men, because they're now ordering cases of the books, pre-ordering cases of the books to get the guys in their churches into groups and so forth to go through the book.
Yeah, before we run out of time, if you just tuned in, I'm talking with Patrick Morley, who is a great author, but has this huge ministry to men. And I just feel like I'm a facilitator, that, you know, God puts us together and I show you to the viewers. But this is a good book for your pastor, any Sunday school teacher. There's so much material in here that needs to be proliferated out there, and not, you know, just
I think the main
not
thing
just to be read. Somebody else can teach this. This would be easy to teach because you've done the work.
Easy to teach. There are questions at the end of each chapter, and so you can do small groups. But basically, this can help a guy unpack, you know, how do I maintain my faith when it seems like my circumstances are out of control? You know, how do I find lasting happiness when the things all the different things these 10 great men have to teach them.
All right, you've got Nehemiah there in there too, and
Yeah.
I've always kind of favored him.
Have you?
Yeah. What can he teach men? I know
Well-
he can teach me, but
Well, nobody has ever felt a more passionate calling to take action than Nehemiah. And so from Nehemiah, we do learn how God makes men by building into them a passionate calling to redeem some broken part of this world. And guys, I would say if there's one thing that stands above all else in terms of what men want and need, and that is that we have a desire to be significant, to make a difference, to leave the world a better place, to mold and shape the world. But a lot of guys, especially younger guys, are increasingly not sensing that there's an avenue for that to happen. That's not true. And in that particular chapter, I show how God does call men to redeem these broken parts of the world, and then how he mourned, prayed, wept, fasted over this passionate calling that God gave him, and then equipped him to actually do something about it. So it's pretty exciting from the standpoint that that particular chapter gives men a clear path to a significant life.
we're almost out of time, but I think it's your last one. And when I get to heaven, I want to see Jesus first, and then for people I haven't met yet, it would be Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Was he the last one mentioned?
Yeah, he's the last in the book.
Yeah. He can teach us a lot, can't he?
He can. So nobody has ever led a life that is more surrendered and more full of serving the Lord than Paul. And so through Paul, God shows us how he forges us into humble servants who lead lives that are fully surrendered to the Lordship of Jesus.
He was completely turned around.
Yeah.
And I think God noticed, he's out there killing Christians, persecuting, and God looks down from him and says, I think I'll take him. And made him the greatest missionary ever.
And there are probably a lot of guys that feel so flawed that what could
what
God ever do
for
through me? And so in this chapter they'll see how.
Yeah. Oh, you're always welcome here. You just call me up and say, Arthelene, I want to come, and you are welcome. And of course, you are always welcome, you wonderful, wonderful friends. And we're out of time now, but I do hope you'll join me next time, remembering there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you would like a video copy of today's Homekeepers program for just $19.95, call 1-800-229-0059 for credit card orders, or send a gift of at least $19.95 to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758. Be sure to note the program number which appears on your screen.